Ladies and gentlemen, the Supreme Court has essentially already backed President Trump with prior rulings and essentially already has, allowed President Trump to fire Fed Governor Lisa Cook. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. It is, according to President Trump's administration, with cause. There is yet another mortgage crisis or a possible scandal associated with this Fed governor, just like possible mortgage fraud committed by the Attorney General in New York and possible mortgage issues associated with Adam Schiff. The issue here is that President Trump, and this is an article right here, Council on Foreign Relations, How Can Trump Control the Fed? It talks about, well, if he could find a reason, for example, a possible mortgage violation or mortgage scandal within one of the members of the Fed, Trump can then, the president has the power to fire anyone within the Federal Reserve. This is right here, NBC News, CNN. Trump asks Supreme Court to let him fire Lisa Cook from Federal Reserve. Now, the Supreme Court has backed Trump 94.3% of the time. I'm not making it up. And you get these amusing articles. Supreme Court must explain why it keeps ruling in Trump's favor. Well, the Brennan Center for Justice should understand that the Supreme Court rules, the headline should be, Democrats or liberals should explain why they're continually on the wrong side of history or why they engage in unconstitutional practices or why they, in an unconstitutional manner, have opposed Trump for so long. There are different ways to phrase this exact headline, but you have the Supreme Court allowed President Trump to fire an FTC member just the other week. 94.3% of the time, the Supreme Court of the United States of America backs President Trump. He can't be a despot. You can't be a despot, a tyrant, an authoritarian. Okay, I'm going to speak very slowly to the morally superior, highly educated. Okay, you can't be a despot or a totalitarian or a fascist or whatever ad hominem that you level against Trump or Charlie Kirk, and God bless his soul. If the Supreme Court of the United States of America has backed Trump on 82 cases, 94.3% of the time. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, check this out. This is one of the other reasons President Trump is already essentially won a Supreme Court victory.
In 2023, an estimable agency known as the Federal Reserve Board came out with a product, an informational memo, if it is, a long one, and the abstract of it says the following. These fraudulent borrowers, such as Lisa Cook, perform substantially worse than similar declared investors, defaulting at a 75% higher rate. That is huge. Their defaults are also likelier to be strategic, suggesting that they pose a risk in the face of declining house prices. So these could really harm, what she is accused of doing could really harm the economy. In fact, there's a lot of evidence that 2008-2009 financial crisis was caused by subprime loans, some of which were developed by these schemes of claiming your residence in two houses to get a better mortgage deal. Now, she has not been charged yet, it is true, but she hasn't produced any evidence that what is being claimed about her is untrue. So where does all this stand legally? I mean, without a charge, can the president still fire her?
Never sue the other driver after.
Well, good afternoon, David. He absolutely can. Look, Lisa Cook was credibly accused and criminally referred by U.S. Housing Director Bill Pulte last week. Within 24 hours, she put out a statement scoffing it all off, calling it a tweet, and not actually denying the underlying allegation that in the span of 2 weeks, she got 2 mortgages on 2 properties, both claiming that they were somehow her primary mortgage. That's called owner occupancy fraud. It is a federal crime, Title 18 U.S. Code 10 2014. The DOJ prosecutes these cases all the time. She did not bother denying it. Now, here's the truth. Under Section 10 of the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, the President of the United States, him alone, can remove a member of the Board of Governors, quote, for cause. In the Humphreys executive case before the Supreme Court in 1935, they defined for cause one of three ways: inefficiency, neglect of duty, and in the case of Lisa Cook, malfeasance. Malfeasance, according to the Oxford Dictionary, is wrongdoing. What is more wrong than lying to the American government, lying to a bank, getting two mortgages that you did not deserve, getting an artificially lower rate, an artificially lower down payment, and an artificially higher chance of approval? Lisa Cook's job is to guard against mortgage fraud and to protect the financial system, not to commit mortgage fraud and undermine the financial system.
And
So this is the same type of thing as the New York Attorney General, as potentially Adam Schiff. A lot of Democrats or high-ranking Democratic Party officials, or government officials in this case, in the Fed board or Fed governor, take advantage of, possibly have taken advantage of their influence or prestige within government to obtain favorable loans, to then circumvent higher insurance rates, circumvent higher mortgage rates. That's what this is all about. That's a crime.
And Steve, it is quite clear in this report. And by the way, you can find it on the internet. It's the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia, 2023. The title is Owner Occupancy Fraud and Mortgage Performance. It gets into the details. And it mentions, by the way, the number of all the loans made between 2005 and 2017, 584,000, 22,000 of those were using these fraudulent practices, like the one she apparently did. And that really jumped right before the 2008-2009 financial crisis. So what she did and what others like her have done could really cause a financial crisis.
Oh, great point. And by the way, James, I think you convinced me. I was a little undecided about this, but you make a great prosecutor here. I think that you're right about some of the facts of this case. As you may recall, David, I was nominated to be on the Federal Reserve Board. I've gone through this process, and it's like a proctology exam. I mean, you have to all the financial disclosure, all the stuff. It's amazing to me, by the way, that somehow this got through. This was not discovered, when she was up for nomination. But I think you guys make a good point that if this were something that unrelated to the job of being on the Federal Reserve Board, I'd say, well, let's wait to see what happens with her. Right. But the fact that this is as you just said, David, this is the kind of behavior that led to the financial crisis, that makes her not qualified for the job.
And the Federal Reserve says that. It's not us saying it. It was the Federal Reserve, the Bank of Philadelphia Federal Reserve, that actually spelled out how it could happen. Now, James, she's not going anywhere, according to the recent statement by the Federal Reserve. They said essentially, they didn't come out specifically and say this, but the full weight and support of the Federal Reserve was with her until the time there is some kind of court appearance or court order about what she did. So they're standing pat. That's a formidable object to go against, right?
It absolutely is. The question that the president needs to ask Jerome Powell right here, right now, is Lisa Cook allowed into the building? Does she have access to her email? Is she showing up to meetings where confidential information is shared about a range of issues, including and especially the type of mortgage fraud that she is credibly accused of having committed? Right here, right now, whatever you think about her, she deserves to be set aside, and this process can play out in the courts. Lisa Cook has a right to challenge anything. She will lose. This is a clear-cut case where she committed fraud. And here's the truth, David. It takes 776 days on average for the Department of Justice to go from charging someone in this type of fraud to actually getting a conviction.
So to be clear, we don't know if Lisa Cook committed mortgage fraud as of now. She's innocent until proven guilty. Okay, Lisa Cook is innocent as of right now. Innocent until proven guilty. The issue is that President Trump doesn't need a conviction. The president doesn't need a conviction if, for example, there's a criminal referral for one of the Fed members, then he has the authority, and the Supreme Court will back Trump on that, just like they've done like 94% of the time. Hit subscribe. Thank you.